All right. Shalom, family. How are y'all doing tonight? I'm Mama Abigail, and I am the founder of the Hebrew Homeschooling Network. And we are hosting a conference on Sunday, May 17th from 2:30 to about 9-ish. And we have different presenters and different uh, panel discussion, resource sharing sessions, all of that. You can see, we'll put the link in the chat, in the description of this video. But as I was preparing, my husband told me earlier today, he said, you must share our why. And why we homeschool. And he said it'll probably make a big impact on others. And I think that is a great idea. So I'm going to start. This is a off the fly kind of video. I did write some things down that we were discussing. Um, so bear with me. This is not scripted or anything like that. So bear with me as I go into some of the reasons why we homeschool, but also why I think you should homeschool. And let's just start with prayer first, because I want this to impact you in a certain way, to motivate you to get started with your journey as well. So, Father God, I ask in the name of Yahuwah that you will give clarity to my words and my thoughts, and help me to communicate the message of um, how raising our children at home and teaching them and educating them according to your word is so important. And I ask that you will help me to be able to share this information, and also to impact those at the conference on Sunday. I ask that you will bring those that need to be there and share it with other people that need to be there and learn this information. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. So first, let me start off with bullying. And I don't want this to go very long because I have lots of stuff to do with this conference. But let's start with bullying. So your child can completely avoid major bullying, the things that people need, uh, you know, the doctor for, the psychiatrist. Let's sit on the couch and let's have this whole discussion about your life and why you're the way you are. They can avoid many of those issues if you just do not allow them to get bullied in that same way. Wait till they are stronger and more um, prepared to face mean people out in the world without your protection, but you've been cultivating that in them for so long that they have the ability to withstand the darts of the devil, right? Um, Bullying, I know, is such a huge issue for so many people. Uh, if you think about it, how the children will uh, have influence on each other, right? Worldly influence is another one we talked about. Worldly influence is so big in the classrooms. You have the pagan holy days, you have the um, just the conversations that kids have, the songs that they listen to, the topics that they speak about. And quite frankly, the lady said, I was speaking with someone today, her name was Miss Cece from PQLR1 radio, and she said, quite frankly, they have demons. And she's correct. Some of these children have demons, and you are subjecting your children to this. And so when you are allowing them to be in a public school or a private school situation, they can be bullied by just a word. How many times have words, sticks or stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me? That's correct, right? So we're saying, oh, you know, that little bit, well, I could brush it off. But words really do cut. They really do hurt. If we're cut by them, especially as like wives, if our husband says something kind of slightly off, we get attitude the whole day. If we can do that and have that feeling, what do you think our children will be able to have? They will be able to feel the bullying effects much longer, much harder, and much deeper. And especially if it goes along with, like, not being part of the inner circle, or I'm kicking you out of my friend group. All of those types of things affect children. And you can avoid so much of it by homeschooling because the kids that you're around are mostly your siblings. And y'all fight, but you're going to make up later, right? You're not going to be a Cain and Abel situation and a Jacob and Esau situation. You get together and you're sharing and you're loving and you create those bonds in their siblinghood that can be unbroken. And so I think that's one huge reason why um, we do this is our why we should homeschool our children. You avoid so much bullying. Another one that I didn't even think about, that my husband, he thought about, and he was like, this is huge for me. And it is the Pledge of Allegiance. Who are we aligned to? As set apart people walking this life, we have only one allegiance that we can pledge to. He's a jealous God. He is jealous. He doesn't want your loyalty to no one else but him. And so if we're pledging our allegiance to anyone, anything other than him, it becomes an idol, uh, a a sacrifice, a deviation from his word. And so we're not following the Torah if we pledge our allegiance to something else, especially if we know what we're pledging to. We know that these people don't care about you at all. And the public school system is set up for your downfall. Everything is set up for your downfall. We know this, right? HOAs, your food sources, the water, they're stealing clean water from one county to put it in another county. And was that county, that region is mostly Black. There's just everything they're doing is to thwart Yah's people, to hurt the apple of Yah's eye. And so if we are pledging allegiance to an entity or to a system that is there to harm us, we are doing ourselves no good at all. We are not helping ourselves and not helping others and definitely not helping our children. So that's something that you need to think about. Um, are you willing to allow your child to pledge allegiance to Satan, to something other than Yah? And are you willing to take those consequences? Because then you may wake up one morning and be like, who is this child that is in front of me? I didn't raise this child. And it's because their allegiance is with someone else. That's something to think about. Another one is pagan celebrations. Now, as we've learned the truth of our identity, we've learned to come back to the laws of the Most High, and we have come away from all the pagan celebrations. I actually have a coloring book that I'm finishing up tonight and posting on my Etsy, and it's going to be a coloring book. You know, no pagan holidays, no way. And so it has a bunch of little pictures that the kids can color. When you speak about a certain holiday that comes through, you can explain to them, you can show them, and they will color a picture and you can explain it. It's coming through on Etsy, should be hopefully tonight. So I'm working on tonight. Anyway, but pagan celebrations are huge because that's what this culture is all about, right? They have holidays for everything. And it seems like Pride Month is every month almost, especially in Atlanta. We're like, wasn't it just like last month? Like, anyway. So, pagan celebrations are all over everywhere, and it can confuse a child, make a child desirous of that thing. Now, if you see a child getting another toy and it's, oh, that's a great toy, it's very easy to be drawn into that, to want that. I want to have toys. I want new things. And when you are, as a child, you're susceptible to that. Let's take it back. How are you doing? I came from, celebrating Christmas and all the pagan things. And for so many years, it was super hard, especially those first couple years. It was super hard to not look at the lights driving by and desire it, or to not want to put things in my house that were pagan. I knew I was not going to do it. It's just you still have that desire, right? And because it's so pretty. So what do you think your children are doing, are dealing with, if they have to see kids talking about the new toy they got for Christmas and the new this, and oh, I got a new outfit for Easter, and I got some candy from Halloween, and we're sharing it. How do you deal with that? It's a new problem every single time. Like every time you look around, there's some new holidays, so you got to deal with the new situation and dealing with their emotions of being rejected and singled out and being different from every single person every single time. So you have to also consider that as if you are thinking about not homeschool. I think that if these are some things that you must consider as you consider homeschooling. These influences are going to be completely in your child's mind, forefront, always going to be involved in their lives. Another one is crime and safety. I mean, you see all the shootings that go on in schools. I mean, the world is pulling their kids out of schools. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who are not, they don't care about y'all at all. They're like, I need my kids safe. So who are we to not put our kids in safety? And of course, Yah can protect us wherever we are. That's not a question. But he also asks us to be wise. So let's consider that. Um, so the crime in schools, not only from other students or teachers bring guns in and shooting up the whole school, but also, excuse me, also from you know the security guards that are in the school. There, I saw a video. The security guard like took down, like she was a smaller child, girl, normal size child. He like wrestled her down to the ground like she was this huge man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so these are things that are happening in the school system that you cannot prevent because you're not there. You can only talk about it later and get therapy and deal with the situation afterwards. But let's talk about preventative care. They always tell you to do that. Let's go to the doctor before you have this issue. Let's do this before. Let's talk about preventative care. How can I protect my child from the crime and from the the security issues that are going on before it happens, before I have trauma that I have to work with and deal with out of his system. So that's something that's huge. You all got to think about that. I mean, my husband sent me a picture of someone's comment on a it's like a Facebook scrolling feed thing, and the woman said, "I don't know what to do." She's like, "I'm about to lose it because this child bit my child's ear, and I don't know what to do." Right? Something along those lines, and it's so sad because you feel helpless at a point where you don't know what to do. But that's why this is so important. Homeschooling, yeah, is calling you to homeschool because you can prevent your child from going through terrible situations like that, and where you don't have to lose your mind, lose your cool, go to jail because you went and got mad at the teacher, and you lose your mind and do all this kind of stuff. Preventative care, take them out of the school system, and yeah, will direct you on the path that you should go. Another reason why um, is, we've been talking about this all along, but the worldly influence. Um, it's inevitable. Kids will have conversations that you will, you know, have no idea about, first of all. And like the lady said today, Miss Cece, she said, kids have demons. They come in houses that are full of demons. They connect, the demons get on them and they transfer it and bring it to school. And that's why school is such a a mixture of so much, so much foolishness sometimes. And I'm not bashing every teacher. I'm not bashing every student. There's some great people in there that are willing to do the work. But as a whole, it's not a great system. It wasn't even designed to be a good system. They know that it's not a system. There's books that you can read about that, and podcasts you can listen to. Little shameless plug. I'm looking for podcasters. I'm interviewers. I'm starting a podcast called Arise and Teach, where I want to tell your stories. And I want to give good homeschooling advice. We'll go into the history of school and, you know, who founded school and what is it for and all this kind of stuff. I got a lot to say. So we'll be going into that. So if you are interested in sending your testimony in or having a Zoom conversation and talking about it, please let me know. Send me an email at HebrewHomeschoolingNetwork@gmail.com. But what was I saying? Going back to worldly influence. Kids will say anything. I'm just telling you, they will do anything. If you ever people talk about like molestation or, they'll say, oh, my cousin did this. This, I was playing with these little kids. And today I just read that she said, it was another homeschooling group. And she was like, the first time I was introduced to lesbianism was through these little kids that I was playing with. So it's not, everybody's not grown. Satan uses everyone, no matter their ages. So you have to protect your children from these worldly influences. And they don't even have to be like they're terrible kids, but if they are wearing pants, right? There's a situation where there's a child that I don't usually want my children to be around because I see that this child is wearing pants all the time, right? And this child looks provocative as a child, right? And I do not want my children, I don't want my son to think this is an okay image and for him to embed in his mind that this is what girls look like. This is the normal situation and this is what I should be seeking when he gets to that point. This is what I should be seeking. This girl that looks like this because she's pretty and I like the way she was, right? I don't want that. And I don't want my daughter to see it and think, oh, this is how I should behave. This is what I should be wearing. Even if they're 2 and 3 and 4 years old. I don't want the influence to seep in subconsciously at all, right? I'm standing guard. I'm protecting, not being mean and not being, overly overbearing and things like that. We're protecting our children from the evils of the world until they can stand on their own 2 feet and fight for themselves. That's what a parent does. And I know that that doesn't go along with what everyone says and the gentle parenting movement of the day. But that is literally what we're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be guarding our children. Our husband guards us. Remember, it says Yah is the we have the hierarchy levels. Yah is the top, and your husband's next, and then you're next, and then your children. And he protects us. Your husband protects the home, and he is like a defense against the wiles of the devil. I like that saying, wiles of the devil, because it's so true. He blocks the arrows. He's the protector. He's the priest of the home. So you are to do your job in preparing and blocking your children from evil influence. And I know it doesn't sound right for this world. You say, oh, we're just sheltering them and they're going to be crazy little weird people. But hey, guess what? Let me just tell you something. Come close. Your kids are already going to be weird in this society. Being a set apart person, wearing fringes on your clothes, wearing a head wrap, wearing a skirt, not speaking of filthy things. All of these set you apart, make you different and weird already. So you're literally training our children to be weird. So get over it. Like, do what Yah tells you to do. Don't worry about what others say. Don't worry about the influences of other people and what your family's going to talk about and how they're going to say things. Forget it. Just move forward. Think about what Yah has for you and the blessing that comes along with living set apart life. And he wants you to be that way. He enjoys that. He loves that. He wants you to stand out and be different. This last one I'm gonna end this with because I got lots to do, but I just want to share this with y'all. Is the kind of like the IEPs and um, the pinpointing or the marking of our children for special needs or neurodivergent education and things like that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm saying a lot of it is just, he's a behavior issue, so we're going to send him out of the classroom. So I don't have to deal with him. And I want him to be on medicine and medications, and I want him to be, drugged so he act right, right? So there's a lot to go into that because there's a lot that goes in with, that idea. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. So my husband, he was, I met him in college, and, he thought that he was, ADHD. And so he went to the doctor and they gave him ADHD pills or ADD, one of those two. And they gave him the pills and all of that, right? And so I'm telling you, I noticed a huge, huge difference when my husband would be on the pill and then when he was off the pill. Like, same thing, literally birth control did. I was crazy. Anyway, but when he was on the ADD or ADHD medicine, he would be like a little zombie. And it was so weird because at first I thought maybe he was just like sleepy one day, and I was like, I'm just, thinking that I'm just, maybe this is just a one-time situation. He's just tired and he's concentrating. Okay, leave him alone. But he would sit there for hours, like reading the little, uh, he was doing computer programming. And he would sit there and he would just read it. And he wouldn't talk to me really. He just, hi, basic stuff. And it was so weird. And he's normally such a talkative, you know, energetic person. And I'm like, bro, what is wrong with you? I was weird. And so I kept noticing this switch in personality. And it was like almost like if he was like two different people splitting his personality. And I told him, I was like, no, you have to stop this. You have to stop this because this is strange. But this is how they want your child to be. They want your child to be a zombie, to not have any energy, and especially our young men, especially our little boys. I have a passion for that, and that's another course that I'm wanting to create. But if you're interested in learning about, how to teach your little boy, a great place to start is Jawanza Kunjufu. He is a great writer. I'm not sure he's still alive. I think he's still alive. But he's a great author. He writes a lot of books. One is like the conspiracy to destroy, countering the conspiracy to destroy Black boys, and that's a great read. Or you can look him up on YouTube. Also, he has great videos. So if you just want to get like a preview of what he does. But there's people attacking our boys. And who are our boys? Our boys are special. Okay. They're the leaders. They're the 144,000. They are these kids that are going to lead our generation into the kingdom. And so what better way than to attack them, right? And so school was designed for girls. It's a feminine structure. That's why we excel at school. Most girls excel at school easier and quicker than boys. Math and sciences are a different thing, but by the time boys hit that age level, the ones that could be super good at it now are in behavior issues and are less than, and so they can't get into those classes. But as girls, we can sit still for longer. We can, we're supposed to be quiet and sitting down and all this kind of stuff, so they succeed more in the structure of school. But as a boy, that's not good. That's not how it works. And I've seen that in my children. My son will like run around in circles for like 35 minutes. My daughter will follow him for a while, and then she'll sit down and like play with a toy on the ground for like 15 minutes, and then she'll get back up and do it again. But she has a different personality. She has a different way of playing than him. He has tons of energy and is like almost they never stop. So how do you capture that energy without labeling him as, oh, you can't concentrate, you can't do anything right, you're a terrible child? I'm gonna stick a label on your face and tell you that you have an IEP that's gonna go with you for the rest of your life. So all the teachers are gonna see that, oh, he's a problem child or he has issues and so he can't really learn. So we're gonna have to take him out of class every 5 seconds so he can get help in a different place, in a different way. So he will always be constantly not learning and constantly on the move, but not in a good, beneficial way. And we're going to bring them late to PE class. We're going to take away recess time. We're going to do all this other thing. So that's another problem. If your child is on IEP or has a neurodivergent, they have called it so many different things over the years. I'm not saying that your child is not this, but if you have a child who is, you might want to just consider changing his diet, changing the food that they're eating, taking away a lot of sugar. That also helps with focus and giving them activities that help them move, do school activities that can help them be involved and be mobile. One example, and I know my child is still young, but you can take this into older ages because I've tutored kids and done the same thing, and the turnaround is great. I learned, like I said, from my child, and he just would not sit still and would not learn this stuff. So I said, okay, let's just jump, and you got to say the letter sounds, right? So he would jump on the bed. We have a bed that's on the floor, so just so everybody knows it's safe. Okay, so he would jump on the bed and he had to say the letter sound to get off. And he was thrilled at that. He loved it. And he knew all his letter sounds so quickly because he was doing something active. He done things with balls. I have a stop, go, and stop, slow, and go sign on the wall at the stairs in our, and I hit one and he has to stop and he has to tell me whatever activity we're talking about. So what number is this, Jedi? Or what number is this? Or can you tell me what sound these make together? What do these two letters say? Things like that. So you can adapt that for older children, make them run around, do 5 laps, and then come tell me this stuff. Or even, just be creative. Just, Yah is giving you such a wisdom that you don't have to be stuck in a mold. And you ask God for wisdom. So y'all, I'm probably starting to rant now, going off of different things, but I just wanted to kind of give y'all a synopsis of what I said. So I was talking about the reasons why it's important to homeschool and the motivations behind why we homeschool our family and my children is bullying. You don't have to deal with bullying when you have homeschool children. Pledge of allegiance. We are not pledging to anyone but Yah. He's a jealous Yah, and he wants us to serve only him. Pagan celebrations. we avoid that because we're not doing it in our home. So the less they see, the easier it is to not deal with. And they go to the store and they're like, "Oh, that's evil. That's terrible," and they're talking all loud about it. But that's how you're supposed to mold their mind into seeing these things as evil and not things as something that was good. There's less crime. Um, well, no crime really. There's no crime going on in my house. Okay, so there's no crime. They don't have to deal with safety issues. They don't have to go through metal detectors. They don't have to think that or assume that they are, uh, you know, going to get hurt every day at school and praying for their safety in that way. You can understand that Yah will protect us and things like that at home, but you're not scared to death to send your child to school. Another one is worldly influence. Children are terrible. There's good kids, but a lot of kids are terrible because they've been influenced by terrible adults through the TV, through their parents, and so forth. And so we get to avoid worldly influence by keeping my children at home and also regulating who they socialize with, being present with their socialization opportunities, listening out, watching, um, and also being part of a good co-op or a group. And that's something that we also want to start as Hebrew Homeschooling Network, is getting families together and growing in that way as well. So if you would like to be a part of that, please join our Facebook group, and as we grow from there. The last one is special needs, IEPs, learning disabilities, neurodivergent learning, all those words that mean the same thing. And so I ask that you all will consider these deeply. Say, are these things that if y'all ask me and I was to stand before him in judgment, would I say that I did my best? Would I say that I kept my child from these worldly things? And if you can't, that's something that you need to consider. That's why it's so important to think about homeschooling as a Israelite family. It's very important. So I just wanted to give y'all those things. My brain's kind of shutting off. I'm like traveling off. So, all right. I thank y'all so much for listening. And I hope that it helps you guys get some clarity, maybe some thought provoking things, and that you all start praying, pray, and get ready for the conference on May 17th on Sunday at 2:30. You can see the breakdown of the sessions. You can join at any time that you would like. You can just leave it on the whole day and come back or whatever. But we're excited to have y'all and excited to learn and grow and meet some great people and get some good resources. And it's going to be exciting. So hope to see y'all there. Shalom.